Good morning, Andrea. Today we are flying across the Atlantic, going to Paris Fashion Week, and talking about crimes of passion. Is this one going to be a winning success, or is it a fashion faux pas?
We will find out.
This is Eric,
This is Andrea
and this is Hallmark Mysteries and more.
and more.
This podcast was created by fans for fans and is not affiliated with or sponsored by Hallmark or the Hallmark channel.
All right. Well, Crimes of Fashion Killer Clutch. The description for this movie: an American psychologist, which is interesting that that's what they went with, hired to coach a fashion designer, helps a guarded French detective unravel a list of fashionable suspects after a murder happens backstage of a Paris fashion show. So no mention of a fashion psychologist in the intro here, which is kind of intriguing.
Especially, right. So, all right, you ready to hop into what? Your enjoyment. You watched it twice. When I
did.
talked to you the first night, you were very not loving it. But then I saw your review after you watched it the second time, and I was like, what happened? Because your review was significantly better than what you had led me to believe.
Yeah, I don't know. So I watched it the first time and I watched it live, and I really do think, and I will probably agree with you finally. So I love to watch these movies live, but I really do feel those commercials kill, especially the mystery movies.
Exactly.
It doesn't have the same flow to it. Like even that rat scene with Brooke, like they broke it into two. And so by the time it comes back on, you've already kind of lost the suspense of the whole scene because of the commercial. And because they're long, it's not like it's a short commercial break, it's a long commercial break. And so I don't know if that was it. I also do think I would have given it a two originally. If I wouldn't have watched this again, it would have been a two. I do think the accents were easier to understand, or at least maybe your brain kind of got used to them by the second viewing. And so that's why it bumped up to a 4 out of 5 stars for me after that second viewing, because I think some of those characters, at least I was able to understand them better. I also found you can pay attention to, do I need to know this character? And because they all had such thick accents, I think it helped to watch it a second time, because then you're like, okay, because sometimes everyone can just feel like all the same person. You're like, who am I watching? And so having them like, okay, I need to pay attention to this person. Oh, it looks like this person's going to be in another movie if there is more. That was helpful as well. So that's kind of, I think, my reasonings why it went up. But I am now, because you haven't told me what you think of this. And so I'm very curious. What did you think of this movie?
All right. I will keep you in suspense a little bit, but I told you, I agree with you. Like rom-coms, I can watch those live and I enjoy it. I do think exactly for what you said. The mysteries, I wait and I watch them on Peacock the next morning, just because, like you say, it's that flow. And I didn't know where the commercial break was for the rats, but I can see how that would be. Yeah, it's that whole tension moment, and they want to keep you in tension so you come back, but it also kind of takes away the tension that you've gotten because you've got up, went to the bathroom, went to the kitchen, did whatever, and now you know, you're calmed down. So yeah, I totally agree. And then I also, on my second watch, while it's different for you, so I have to ask, do you not watch with subtitles?
No, I hate
Crazy,
that.
crazy kid.
My husband does, and I always am like, oh, let me change that. Take those off.
Yes.
I don't like to watch it with
I used to
subtitles.
be against it. My wife was for it, and now I've given up. And yes, so I didn't, the accent thing never wasn't an issue for me. But I will say, watching it the second time did reveal a whole bunch to me because, like the when the one guy, the detective said, "Oh, the family," that joke about family ties and crime and stuff. I'm like, okay, I guess he's just getting mad because he wants them to be serious, but because they didn't reveal it until later, so that joke came too early to really get the gist of it, that no, he's very sensitive about his family and crime. So, but watching it the second time, the joke hit, or the comment, I guess, because I knew his backstory. So yeah, I
Hmm.
think the second time I agree with you for different reasons. I got more, but it also, I will say, and we've talked about it before, I had no idea who the killer was. I thought early on like it could be him, and I thought, nope, way too big of a twist for Hallmark, won't go there. But when you watch it the second time and you see the silhouette,
Yep.
you're like, all
Yep.
right,
How did I miss that?
I know who
That's what
this
I
is,
thought.
right? Yeah, but you don't know it at the time, right? You're just like,
No.
oh, you're paying attention, you're this, but you're seeing
Right.
the gun and Brooke diving through a window and all that. So all of this, and I keep the suspense going for what did I rate it? I gave it a 4.5. I thought
Ooh.
it was fantastic. Just rolling into my mystery minute. So we talked last time about Crime Time and how Crime Time was a really good movie with great characters that was, sort of had a mystery going on, but it really wasn't the focus. I think this one was exactly the opposite, where this was just a great mystery. The story was good, but it was that mystery where it had you like going all the way through the end. I thought the characters from the mystery standpoint were really developed. The red herrings, like there weren't like overly fake red herrings that you're like, yeah, I know this isn't going there, because
Yeah.
I had no idea until the end who it was going to be. I knew it wasn't Odine and I knew it wasn't Gerard, but other than that, I had no idea who it was. I was thinking very strongly it was the guy who was the business owner of the company. They
I did too.
so that's who I
Yep.
thought it was going to be, and he was
Same.
trying to do something, right?
Yep.
So that's finally who I settled on, and nope, it did not turn out to be. So another thing going into this is I like Brooke D'Orsay, I think, a lot more than you. Well, you don't dislike her,
No, I liked her. I mean,
right?
again, I like her. She's just not like my like top,
Right, right.
Mount Rushmore. And again, I enjoy her. You make it seem like I don't like her. I
Okay.
like her.
Well, that's where she is for me too. She's not my Mount Rushmore, but I truly enjoy her. And whenever she's in something, I'm always like, oh, I really like what she's in. And
Yeah.
I would though, because she's kind of a little Ashley Williams-esque, where she's got a little quirk to her, and I think she does the comedy great. And so I was a little concerned with this fashion, psychologist. I'm like, okay, this is one of these Hallmark careers, which apparently it is a real job.
It is.
But
It
I
is.
thought it was this like, Hallmarky career thing that was going to be a little silly. I thought she pulled it off. I thought even when she was doing her like little, okay, breathe up, breathe up, breathe up, or the 1, 2, or the 3, 3, 3s, I thought she was very convincing in her role. I thought she did a great job being a sleuth. And I will say, nobody does an updo like Brooke D'Orsay. You put that hair up, she pulls that look off. Fantastic. Fantastic. So, yep, a
Well,
4.5. Thought it was a great mystery. So, there we go.
yeah, I mean, kind of piggybacking on the mystery minute for myself, I agree. I didn't guess who it was. I thought the same thing. I thought it was going to be that business owner. I was like, oh, it must be him. And I was kind of disappointed because well, we'll save that. I enjoyed him. I don't know if I really had any other suspects besides him. Like as
Right.
we were going through, like there wasn't a ton of the red herrings that sometimes again they throw at us and you're like, that's one too many, and then you kind of lose interest, I think, when they do that. And so I do like that they kept it very just, here's what's happening. And then they had the detective, like his whole family backstory. I enjoyed having like the cops kind of not like him at the same time and having that kind of at play that gave the movie a little bit more dimension that I don't think we've seen from a Hallmark mystery before. And so I kind of enjoyed to see, okay, how is this going to turn around? I mean, something to play with for future movies if they
Totally.
have more of like, how is this going to eventually work out? Do they become friends? Do they accept him? Do they see he's on their side? That's something that will, hopefully happen in future movies. And then I agree with her career. I looked it up because I saw that was a common complaint of people not liking that she was a fashion psychologist. And a quick Google search and you're like, oh, this is a career. It's a newer career. And for some of them, I don't mind like the weird careers because I don't want movies that are just the same thing over and over. Like we have a lot of baked ones like Curious Caterer, Gourmet Detective, Hannah Swenson. We have a lot of like the food. So it's nice to step away from those and to try something different. And so I enjoyed having that as a career. And again, a quick Google, it is a newer career. It might seem kind of out there to people, but I suppose like an influencer, 20 years ago, could we have ever thought that was going to be a career? Things kind of shift, the market changes, and there's a need for it. So that's where I kind of landed with that. What about the other common complaint I heard was accents? So did you find those to be super off-putting? Because those were the two major complaints I saw about this movie, was the fashion psychologist and the accents.
No, because that's the same thing in Mystery Island. Everyone complained that they had
Mhm.
accents. I'm sorry, but there are people who live outside the United States. Like, what are you supposed to do, right? Hey, we want an international mystery, but we only want him to speak English, with an American accent. Yeah, no, that did not bother me at all. But I'll say I do watch with subtitles, so I do have, but I think most of the viewers, based on just comments I've gotten and things like that, that most people watch with the subtitles these days, even you youngsters. But
I'm weird then.
you are.
Yeah, I'm weird. No,
So one of the
no.
things that's interesting, you kind of brought up with like not a lot of the red herrings, is also a lot of the times the killer is sort of a randomish character who is barely in the movie,
Yeah, yeah.
like Crime Time, like all of a sudden, yeah, he's in there, but it's not someone who you really think is too involved in the plot. Whereas that's once again why I thought this was such a good mystery, because it really made sense why he was doing what he was doing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it was a main character, which we usually don't see a main character, be that way. And so I really enjoyed it in that aspect. It wasn't like, because I was looking at these like, yeah, random side characters, thinking it had to be one of them, and I'm like, they're not giving me anything to think it's one of them, and I was going to be so disappointed, yeah, if it turned out to be like the sidekick, the snotty detective or something like that, who was on the take or something. Like, they just didn't give you enough for that, and they didn't. So I thought it was a well crafted mystery. Loved it.
I agree. What about the romance? What did you think?
But
I've heard mixed reviews on
I,
this as
I, I
well.
have one complaint.
Okay.
I think they missed a wonderful opportunity. The writers actually reached out on our Instagram and said, "Oh, hey, did you like it and everything?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I did, but you missed something," and they think it was in editing, but no, it was actually in the writing. There was the scene where Andre and Lauren are talking together, and they figure out that the woman who's the fashion editor, Diane, like, she has this past, right? And so they're going to go talk to her. And so Brooke is like, well, Lauren is saying, "Oh, we need to go talk to her." And Andre responds with, "We, like you really, need to be part of this." They totally should have responded with her saying, "We," as in the French, yes. Because remember early on, she said, "Oh, all I know is we and merci." It would have been perfect. Yes. So not the we, it would have been a wonderful little play on the words. So if I rewrote the movie, I would have put that in there, and it would have been the line of the movie. Everyone would have been laughing. You would have still been
Oh my
chuckling about it.
gosh.
You would have been pulling it up. I did think it was, by the way, I do think it had some good layered comedy in there. Like, it was really cute how she never could pronounce his last name and kept messing it up, and it was finally like, "Oh, you're just Andre to me." So I did enjoy like those little things without it going too overboard. And I think with the whole thing, it could have, it's kind of like we talked about before with some of the things that can go over the edge and give it, bring it to the edge and go a little too much where it becomes like farce. And I think they held that line perfectly in this movie. So that's just another reason why I enjoyed it. But okay, romance roundup. I think that they had some definite chemistry going between the two of them. I liked them together, but I also do think it was a weird flip because he was kind of, you're this American, you got to go back, get out of here, leave me alone, let me be Mr. Detective. And she's like, "No, I'm not going to do that." She goes outside, he walks outside, and all of a sudden it's Lauren to him, and he's like, "We're in this together." So it was just kind of like a little switch, but whatever. I liked them together. I thought they were cute.
I thought they had sizzling chemistry. Although I'm pretty sure he has chemistry with everyone if you were watching him. Like
Yeah.
every single female on cast, like his eyes, just the way he like looks at people, like it's just, I mean, it's very much, that's why he was cast in Sex and the City as the neighbor. I mean, he just has this stare that makes women melt. You're like, okay, you can hold your own here. And again, I hadn't really seen him act in anything besides that scene, and he obviously didn't have a ton of words to say in that movie. But I thought he was a good actor. I thought he really was a great compliment to Brooke, and I enjoyed seeing them together and kind of to see where this goes, because I did think I thought they had some good chemistry.
I won't deny. And I mean, come on, he's a good-looking French dude. Of course, he's got good chemistry, and everyone's gonna love him. I mean, geez, damn, it's like Christopher Laha. Damn you! Why do you have to be you? But yeah, and then like I say, I think Brooke's adorable. So I thought I thought they paired very well, very well. And if we see more, I think after talking to Lisa, this is one. Hopefully the ratings were there. I think you have to see more of it because yeah,
There's stuff to work with.
plenty of room for him to go. Yeah, and plenty of plot and storyline to work with.
What about character corner? Did you have a standout character?
It's kind of weird because they really did focus on the two centrals. And
Yeah.
so why I like to find that secondary one, I had to go with Brooke. And the reason why I went with her is what I said earlier. I thought it was one that could go sideways. I thought it could be a little too quirky, a little too silly. And I thought she pulled it off. She was charming, she was cute, she was adorable, but at the same time, she seemed like she was someone who actually went to med school to be a psychologist, right? As opposed to being, oh, I'm just silly Jessica Lowndes, or however you say her last name, and I'm a neurosurgeon, someone who just would never believe in that case. So it was Brooke. I thought she did a fantastic job. And well, I know it had to be a stunt double, but yeah, you had the rat thing going, but
It was
then
not a stunt
no,
double.
not that for that part, but
Oh,
when the running through and crashing through the window, like we don't normally see that in a Hallmark movie,
no.
right? And I thought that was like action packed, and then running down the street, with the shooting after, that was like edge of your seat kind of stuff. And like I said, well, I know it wasn't Brooke who jumped to, well, maybe it was her. I really doubt it was her who jump through the window if Alexis Penavega doesn't get thrown into the lake. In Picture Perfect, I doubt Brooke dives through a window, but I thought it was great. And so, yeah, I wanted to find someone a little deeper, but went with her.
Yeah, I had picked both of the leads myself because again, they were the central focus, but I did find a secondary, as I almost alluded to earlier, Ari. That was that guy in charge of the fashion line. I really enjoyed him. So when I thought he was the killer, because again, I was the same. I'm like, oh, he's barely been in the movie. It must be him, because I found him easy on the eyes as well. And his accent was like not as intense as the other. So he was pretty easy to understand. And so I'm like, oh, that makes sense why they want to keep him around for future ones. The guy who, ended up being the murderer, he had a pretty intense accent. And so that maybe will help people, I guess, in future. Like he won't be there. And I think that will be helpful. Ari isn't quite as intense with his French accent.
Oh, he totally is not intense, because I thought Ari was like the American who owned the company that owned the thing. So I did not realize he was French himself. So yes, he definitely had the lighter accent. There was also, I guess we could go, who was, kind of an over the top character, but both the designers were his competitor guy, his nemesis with that hair and
It was fun.
all that. So yeah, he was kind of a crazy one. And it was a great scene. I loved that scene when Andre's like, oh, I got you busted because here you are on the lease for this warehouse with all the goods. And he's like, but you don't have me because that's not my signature. I thought that was a great scene, just kaboom, and kept it going. It wasn't one of the silly things to keep the plot advancing. So I guess I can go him as far as just a fun little side character. I do have a question though. Speaking of side characters, we were talking about Ari, and at the end, he's like, oh, and he's got the magazine, like, this is our new fashion, whatever person, the designer. Who was that? Were we supposed to know who that woman was?
I don't
She's,
know. I mean, maybe that will be in future movie. Like,
okay,
that'll
so
be
she
the
was just a
next.
random person who's now in charge of it. So they're basically saying it wasn't the crazy blonde haired dude. that it was this woman. So,
Well, I was
or
thinking, I guess I didn't look at it, but I was thinking it was the person from the other gal that was in the movie. The one who
Charlotte,
had, yeah,
the
is
one who went
that
to
her?
jail.
No. The is it Diane? Was that
Well,
her
it
name?
wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't Diane, because Diane
Okay.
is
That's who I was
whatever.
thinking of. I didn't look at the picture, but that
Oh
in
yeah.
my head, because at that point, sometimes, you're like coloring in your Golden Girls coloring book and watching these movies like me. You don't
My,
always like look up at the screen, you're like listening and
no,
coloring.
I'm looking at my Murder She Wrote recipe book for what I'm going to make for dinner.
Oh,
No,
geez.
because the
That's
first
also
time I
me.
watched it, I thought it was Charlotte, and I'm like, wait, why is she all of a sudden, like a week after getting hired, getting put in charge? But then the second time I watched it, I'm like, no, it's this random woman, and I don't know if I was supposed to now. Maybe we have to watch it a third time. So I don't know.
I
Uh,
almost did.
All
What about
right,
any trivia? What do you got for trivia?
I got nothing other than it was filmed in Paris and Bulgaria, because I think when they were showing some of those exterior, wait, what do you mean? No, no, no.
So what I read on IMDb is this was the majority of this was filmed in Budapest,
Oh,
and the
Budapest. That's what I meant.
stills of Paris were used. So most of this, they said most of the people never even stepped foot in Paris.
Okay. That's what I meant,
So
Budapest, not Bulgaria. Bees are bees, whatever. But that's why I was like thinking when they were showing some of those aerials, it didn't seem very Franco architecture. It seemed a little more, yeah, that Budapesty. And so I even paused and I called my wife over and I was like, hey, because we recently went to France. I'm like, does this look like anywhere we went to? And she's like, no, because I don't know what you call the spears and the buildings, whatever. It just had a more Middle Easternish, I don't not French feel to it. So
vibe.
okay.
And my other one
Wait,
was
so
Guy.
they didn't film in Paris at all?
No, according
So
to
there was
IMDb.
they all right.
Oh. And my other trivia was Giles, so the leading Andre, worked as a baker. So coming back to our bakers, in his father's bakery from the age of 8. After high school, he joined the French army where he was stationed in Paris and served as a fireman. So fun fact about him.
And
I found
oh,
that to be kind of cool.
so wait, so the hunky Frenchman also is a fireman. Like anything else we can put him on the hottie checklist? I mean, he's got a puppy dog
Oh,
too. He rescues
oh,
puppies. Oh, I
that's
hate him.
awesome.
I hate him.
Oh,
So
well,
wait,
any final thoughts on the movie? Like what stuck out to you that maybe we haven't talked about yet?
I just, I was, I thought I was going to like it just because I thought it was going to be kind of a more fun romp, a little more crime timey. I'll just go back to, I really was surprised at what a great mystery this was, as far as, not Hallmark mystery. The other thing is it is a Hallmark mystery, so we know that they are restricted on budget. I thought they did a pretty darn good job of making it look high fashion, because very easily, and we've talked about it before, like when we were going into the Gilded Age, they didn't, had the budget to do a lot of the opulence. And so some of the costuming was good, but it wasn't, Downton Abbey, or it wasn't Gilded Age, HBO, right? But I thought they did a pretty good job. And they also, probably people don't notice these things, but the background actors, like when they went to the police station, usually when they go into somewhere like that, you have like one person or two people in the background. They angle it so it seems like you're in a busy police office, but you're really not, because they don't want to have, background actors who you have to pay for. But when you went in there and they had that wide angle, it showed like, I don't know, 15 people. Or when they do the fashion show, usually they'll do a fashion show and it'll be something like that. And there's like 6 people in attendance at the fashion show. But they did things that actually had a fair amount of background actors to there, which I thought added sort of depth to the filming, and not necessarily the story, but it just made it seem a little bit bigger in the picture. And like I say, and then the fashion, I thought Brooke's outfits were really cute. I saw someone say they thought that her outfits were boring. Her dress that she wore when she went out and there on that party, I thought that was
Smoking
hubba
dress.
hubba. Yeah, I thought she looked great. Her coat that she wore throughout the thing, that pink coat, I thought she looked great. She wore another outfit where she was good. Yeah, I thought she looked fantastic in the movie. And like I said, I don't know if I mentioned before, nobody does an updo like Brooke D'Orsay. She always has one in all. Watch, pay attention. She always
Oh my
has one in her
gosh.
movies, and it always looks good. So, what about you? Your final?
Yeah, I would definitely say, I did recommend a few people in the DMs weren't as high on it like myself, and they said maybe I need to watch it twice, like I did. And I said, yeah, just to kind of help ease some of those accents. So if you were someone who were like, maybe this wasn't as enjoyable, maybe give it a second go, see what you think. I will say the first 20 minutes I thought did move kind of slow. Besides the opening scene, I'm like, yes, we're in it, and then it just went very slow until the murder happened. So if you're one of those people who are, betting on those first 20 minutes, this is a movie that is a little bit of slow warm up, and then it starts getting going a little bit more. It's not a super action packed, fast pacing movie. So don't expect that. It's
At
a
the
little more of a
end,
slow roll.
at the end,
Yeah, but people have to make it that far. So that's where I'm like, I
okay,
feel like people might give up before they make it there. So just know that it's not like that first scene is awesome,
right.
and then it's slow until if you make it to the final maybe 20 minutes again. So
That's kind of
just
how
be
you felt
warned.
about True Justice too, right? You felt True
Yeah,
Justice sort of eased, and
slow
then
warm up. Yep, slow warm up.
which just explains once again why you have to have multiple episodes because things are getting built and it's not super
And you're
exciting.
paying
And
attention to different stuff that second
yeah,
time. You're like, oh, okay, like this is what I'm going to watch this character, because the first time I thought they were going to be really important, but they weren't. Let me watch this person
yeah,
instead.
Odin. Well, I will say my initial thing was Odin. Oh, you're guilty. You're the dead, or you're the murderer. But clearly not, as she ends up dead. I will say also, it seemed like I don't think um Hallmark usually shows blood, and there was blood in this
Mm,
movie with the things. And I guess we should go back and do one final thing of Brooke and the rat. That is like I'm committed to my role. I would not.
that was
I'm
amazing.
I'm creeped out by like people who have mice or rats or any environment-y things. I'll admit it. Nope, not me. And yeah, I kudos to her. Kudos to her.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that scene. I guess I maybe could if they're trained, maybe, but
They
I'm
don't
just trying
have
to think of
they
like,
don't have trained rats.
yeah, you have to
No,
have trained rats, don't you
no,
think?
no, it's a rat. It
Okay.
doesn't have much of a brain to train. It's not
Have you
like,
not seen them like in like the little things that they make them go through, and like I'm sure
yeah,
they have
but
like a
that's
little
not,
clicker thing?
but
You don't
that's
think
like
they
an
were
inst
trained?
that's no, that's like an instinct.
I don't
Like,
know.
I don't know.
Someone let us know.
I don't
Let us
think you
know if
have
they
like,
train rats.
I don't think you have a rat who you're like, okay, sit, fetch.
Well, no, but like a little like click, 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 come here, go across.
Maybe.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know.
maybe you're right. Maybe it can do
That's the
that.
only way I could do that, is if they were
Okay.
like somewhat trained. As much as you can train a rat, but like that I could maybe do.
It's still a
Um,
rat with a rat. Ugh, I'm creeped
See,
out.
I'd rather do that than a snake. I wouldn't be able
Oh,
to do a snake. There
I
is
don't like
no way.
I don't
Could
like
not do
snakes
that.
either, or spiders, or like say any of those creepy. Yeah, no.
Spiders, fine. I can do
I don't
spider.
even like cats, right? Give me a dog. I know you like
My
cats. You have
God, my cat
Garfield.
is sitting right there. He is
I'm sorry,
insulting.
Garfield. Didn't mean to hurt your feelings.
Oh, well,
Um,
what recommendations do you have? Hallmark and chill. What else do you got for us?
this is going to be it's out there. I don't know why
Ooh.
because it's not exact anything like the movie, but Zoolander. I mean, it's the high fashion
I
model thing.
actually got that from the dude with the white hoodie up in the
Yes.
forgerer, like, or
Yeah.
not forgerer, but
The other
totally could
right
see
thing.
that.
And I just sort of had the thing of it just was a fun movie. And I think Zoolander, I don't know why. I just kind of got it. And then there's this other movie. I don't know if it's on Netflix or where. I watched it and it's called Last Night in Soho. And it's this woman is a designer or wanting to be a designer, and somehow she gets in a time warp and goes back to the 60s where she's like starting it. So it's kind of like this fashiony mystery-ish thing. I guess it would have been really helpful if I had bothered to look up to where you could watch said movie. I'm sure if you just Google Last Night in Soho, you will you'll get it. And it's not like a mystery murder mystery kind of thing, but there's a lot of whatever. I guess it's more like what we're going to talk about in a second.
I was just gonna say, it sounds like
yeah.
The Way Home.
Yeah, the way home-ish type mystery type stuff with antics like that. So, what about you?
Well, no surprise here, because of course,
It
my
better not.
favorite
No,
shows.
it's not. It's not
Yes, it
Murder, She
is.
Wrote.
Murder, She Wrote, A Fashionably Way to Die, Season 4, Episode 1. When Jessica visits Paris to visit a friend who runs a fashion boutique and is in some money trouble. That is the description. And I will say, I literally, when I was watching this, I was getting Murder, She Wrote vibes because I'm like, oh yeah, I remember her doing her fashion show in Paris. And yeah, that's
You
all
are
I
the
thought.
only person on the planet who got Murder, She Wrote vibes from this movie. I think when you have your little matcha tea, you get whatever Murder, She Wrote vibes from that somehow. You're
I mean, what can I
you're
say?
you're worse with Jessica Fletcher than I am with Brooke Burns.
Well, I couldn't help it. I was like, well, shoot, this just reminds me of that episode. That or Diagnosis Murder. There is like an episode for all of the mystery movies. I will find it for you in case anyone wants to watch.
Well, there's probably, I bet you if we went through Monk, there's probably a fashion.
I was just going to say
too.
that's also one, I'm sure. And I could have even brought you the recipe in my cookbook for that episode, but shoot, I didn't tie that together. Oh, well. Well, what about Fan Corner? What did you hear from people? What were they thinking?
I didn't have very much people reaching out to me. My most Fan Corner was you sending me the thing of, all right, this is like the worst movie I've ever seen. And I was like, oh crap. Because usually when you feel that bad about a movie,
it doesn't turn
over
around.
Over on the Hallmark ones, I'll say I've skipped them because I know that we're close enough that if you're there. And so I was like, oh no, it bombed, it didn't hit. And then I watched it the next morning. I'm like, wait, what did you watch here? So but I only had a couple people who were like, what'd you think? I loved it. So I think most people who DM'd me generally liked it. I don't know if loved it. I'll say generally they liked it. It wasn't like Crime Time. Crime Time had a lot of love for that one. So, but
okay. So here's my poll results. 5 out of 5, 14%, 5 out of 5. 4 out of 5 stars, 38% of people said they enjoyed it. The majority came in middle of the road. 3 out of 5, 41% said middle of the road movie for them. And then 1 or 2 star, only 7%. So that had the lowest. I will say, I kind of looked back through all of the new mysteries that we've had, and this was the second best. So by far, the favorite movie from the people on my poll that usually answer. What one do you think it is? By far.
Crime Time.
No.
It's True Justice.
It is True Justice. That was the only one that had the majority, a good chunk were in the 5 out of 5 stars. So True Justice is so far hands down everyone's favorite this year for the mysteries.
I guess I'm doing some recency bias, but because I've said before with True Justice, that's the only one too where usually we get someone who will, their comment will be bring back Mystery 101, and that was the only one where no one was saying bring back Mystery 101s, that people seemed content on that being a new mystery. So I can see that. I just thought
this was number 2 though. This is actually number 2. Number 3 then was Crime Time, and then Gilded is at the bottom with not as favorable results.
Do you remember for Gilded, like where was the
most were 3 to 1 to 2? That was not heavy on, that was very low on the scores. But I was surprised because I really enjoyed Crime Time.
Wait, I just remembered that night Gilded was on, and I sent you the text saying, well, look what's on Gilded Age, and your response was like, I'd rather watch that than this. And I know you were not a fan of the Gilded Age. So
I know. That's how it ended. And this is how it turned around for me. I somehow, the second viewing, I don't think I'm going to not watch it with the commercials next time. Although I still like to watch it live. I like to know, but it just kills the movie for me. So otherwise it's nice to watch it 2 times.
The rom-coms, totally get it and watch them live, enjoy it. Because the other thing for me is I went and I hopped on Twitter because I just wanted to see what some of the vibe was. But the problem is if you hop on there, people
I don't
start
have
giving you
Twitter.
answers.
Oh.
And so I was like, I don't want to know what's going on. So I did not spend too much. I don't
Twitter,
spend time
so
on Twitter anyhow. I just I don't even know why I have it. I have it because I just post the podcast over there hoping someone listens to it.
sees it.
I don't actually engage in
Oh,
Twitter. All right.
that's funny. Well, what's coming up next? I am so in on this movie. Hannah Swenson, One Bad Apple. I feel it looks fresh with Victor Webster. Looking at the preview, because they aired the preview during this movie, and I watched it, and I
Oh, they
think
did?
it looks
For
really good.
us streamers did not
I
see
know
that.
you didn't see it. So you'll have to go watch the trailer because I really do find it, all of the actors feel like just this upbeat, like even Alison Sweeney, like she feels like she is more invigorated because they have obviously done how many, countless, Hannah Swenson or Murder She Baked. This is probably number what, 8 to 10?
I think 10, I think it's, isn't it like, or I think it's 9 because I think they did 6, 3. No, I think 10. Yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
6
So
murder
they've
and
done a
3.
lot. And it feels like, because sometimes it can get stale. Cast members, as we had said before, having watched some Aurora and Garage Sale, that they
Yeah.
seem kind of
Sale
phoning it in.
mysteries.
Right. They seem like they are not, I mean, it seems like they're not phoning it in. They have some, fresh faces on the set. So I think that's really helping it. So I'm really, really excited to see how Victor does in this. And I do enjoy Cameron. And so he will be missed, but I'm all in. I want to see what Victor does. I'm
Victor,
okay with the switch.
Victor doesn't do bad.
No, he's one of my faves and your faves as well. So
Yeah. And lo and behold, we are talking to not only the star, but the writer. That's maybe also why it maybe feels a little fresh that Alison Sweeney, wrote this one.
oh,
So
that's
it's her first,
exciting.
yeah, it's her first writing
It looks good.
credit, I guess. So we are talking to her, recording that tomorrow. So that'll air next Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm looking
So
forward to it. All right. Well, I know we're going to go into your favorite segment, jumping in to the pond for the way home.
and we kind of have
We are
2
not,
episodes.
I was to say, let's not review episode 7.
I
I didn't put any notes, and honestly, I was not in on episode 7. I found it boring. I don't even remember what happened.
I have my one note that Elle, or Kat, once again proves that she is the worst mom ever. She does not care that she has a daughter. She has a weird, psychologically unhealthy relationship with her brother, of which also with the age gap, they were portraying it like, oh, we're buddies, we're this, that, and the other. There's too much of an age gap for them really to have been as close as she makes it out to be. You can be your little sibling, this, that, and the other. But like, I have my older brother, he cares for me, but we were never bonding. We weren't going and doing things together because there's just too much of an age gap, right? So
What's your age gap?
7 years.
Dang it. That's my boys. They're 7 years. Don't tell me this, Eric.
Like,
I mean,
oh,
the brother that I'm closest to is 5 years younger than me. I have 3 brothers, and the one that's closest is actually the 5-year. And we even though
growing
we were
up?
quite, yeah, even growing
Okay.
up, like we were the closest. Like he'd follow me around, and he'd come and cheer my basketball games on, and then as we got older too, like he's always been the one. We're most similar in personalities, and my other 2 brothers are more similar.
Okay.
So, I have a brother who's 2 years younger, and I love him dearly, but personality wise, like he's just more quiet and shy, and
Let's hope he does not listen to
not.
the podcast because Andrew reveals she does not like.
No, I love all of my brothers, but
brother.
they would say the same. I'm like, me and my middle brother, we just, I mean, you just click better sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. So we can move on. We can move on to this other episode where
episode 8.
Yes,
I'll recap it before you say anything. Here's the episode. It's not very much. It's called Lose Yourself, and I was very disappointed we had no M&Ms playing in this episode. But
Eminem is from Detroit, and he would have no part of this.
That's probably true. Del, Cat, and Alice see how events of the past affect their family to this day. Eric is just shaking his head in like wonder of like, wow, what an episode. I will just tell you my hot take. This was my favorite episode of the season.
I
enjoyed it.
I could say that, and it really wouldn't mean anything.
I felt like it stuff was happening in this episode at least, and they also spent very minimal time in the 1800s. I enjoyed that. It was a huge disappointment, the Jacob scene. Like we waited all this time, like basically 2 seasons for that interaction. That felt disappointing. The scene that my standout performance, Kat being hit and she's in the water, obviously she doesn't die. That was it. And I know that was in the DMs, that was people really did not like that, because if that was the thing we were waiting for at the party, like this is the big thing that happened at Lingamore. Well, what? Because you're like, of course, obviously Kat lives. We know this. So why would there has to be something else? That's what everyone's saying. There must be something else we're going to find out next week, because that's not like cliffhanger. That's nothing. I mean, yes, obviously she hit her head. That's not great.
Yes, that's not a secret that's buried for years and
correct.
years and whatever.
In the paper, and Dell has to cover it up, or she doesn't talk to Kat. It just seems very weird. So that was kind of my take. The episode, again, I did enjoy it. It felt like it moved faster. It didn't feel just kind of stale. What about you? I know you hate the show. Continue hating it, or a little better?
So we get to meet Jacob, and what does he turn out to be? Another whiny person who's like, why didn't you come get me earlier? Like, oh, I was living in Minnesota, married, did not know this magical pond existed. It's not like it was something in her control, right?
Correct.
So yes, hey, I guess it's true. She's part of the family. He's part of the family, whiny. You've got Dell, who, like, there should be, you know what we do? We should send Lauren, the psychologist, over to the way home, because they all need so much counseling. Dell, I can't, like, my husband's been dead for years because my daughter killed him. But anytime I see a plaid shirt or anything, I'm going back to like this thing, and I can't even function anymore. So come on, Dell, move on. I'm sorry. Yes, it's your spouse died and everything, but I get it. But moving on. And then the whole time warp thing, like, Alice goes back to this party. She shows up. Everyone sees her. So present day, Kat and Elliot should know that she was at the party, because she adjusted whatever timeline. So they don't even know how to do a proper time travel thing now. They've ruined that aspect of the show, because she changed history by going back. And they should know that, oh, we saw you at the party, so you know what happened. So I don't know. And
what about Nick discovering the book at the end? Was that exciting to you?
No, because I'm so uninvolved, and it's just useless drama that's going to get spun off in some way. I'll go, I'm writing fiction. I don't know.
I mean, I think that I actually, now I'm flipping back to episode 7. I was not excited. The Nick thing, I feel like this can't turn out well in any way in terms of like him and Alice. Like that just gets very creepy and muddy, and he is older than her, and that just is weird. Now it's just weird. And then if you're adult Nick, what are you thinking? You're like, wait, what? Alice, like,
you're thinking you go to, he probably eats at Subway.
I mean, it's, oh gosh.
I know.
Like, it's a very disturbing thing that he's thinking in his head. You're like, what is going on? Like,
and
I dated this girl, but she hasn't aged. Like, the whole thing is just, ugh.
And I'm sorry, you don't remember someone's voice from 15 years ago? Like, if you just heard.
No, you remember what they probably look like in their name.
Yeah. Like, I could have my high school girlfriend all of a sudden hear something. I wouldn't be like, oh, Liz.
Right.
My high school girlfriend was Liz.
But I would remember, like, my high school boyfriend. I still, if I saw him walk across the street, or someone who looked like him, I would recognize him. And if they're like Ryan, I'd be like, oh, that's weird. Same name, looks just like him. That would be something you would remember more so than maybe the voice.
Right. Singing up in a thing. But now, who was it? Was that Boys to Men? Backstreet Boys? I don't know.
No, that was
boy band.
Was it Backstreet Boys, I think? Or was it NSYNC? One of the two. I clearly wasn't a big boy band person. Michael Bolton is my jam, so I'm not sure. I was jamming Michael Bolton.
And probably Kenny G too, right?
I did like, I had both cassette tapes.
To your watching your Murder She Wrote live.
What can I
right.
say? What can I say? Well,
Yeah.
here are people's thoughts on this episode. I kind of gave the poll for what are people still thinking about the way home. 40% after this episode, I'm so in on the pond again. So this episode jumped him back in. 20%, it wasn't my favorite episode. 10%, there's way too many things going on. 30%, what will Nick do with this information? And many people DM'd and said they had a couple options. So
I'm in the
again,
10%.
too many things going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not gonna be able to wrap all this up in 2 episodes. So
And but it gets
you're
back
probably gonna
to
disappoint people.
it gets back to what you said earlier, the whole premise of the big mystery of her getting knocked into the water, whatever, knocked out in the water. Clearly, it's a party craziness, but it's not a cover up and Linda Moore secret for
I mean, the
20,
big
17
reveal
years.
of Jacob wasn't, I mean, in the end, it's not that big. So it's hard to really what are we waiting for when these payoffs haven't been what we thought they would be, you know?
And then how about Elliot getting jealous of Thomas? What are you doing with him? What are you doing with him back in 1812?
Yeah. I mean, it's
Uh,
that's a very toxic relationship too, Kat and Elliot.
everybody's toxic. Everybody. The
Oh,
only character who is somewhat forgivable in this whole thing is Alice.
Alice. Yeah.
And that's because, once again, yes, she's having
in
her
high school.
weird emotional thing with this older guy because she fell in love with him back then, which
Any teenage girl probably
she's
would.
right. She is the only person in this entire thing I find redeemable. Even Dell, who I was sort of holding out. I bet you the horse is going to come back and the horse is going to have some sort of trauma that's going to make me dislike it. What's it? Lightning or something? I forget what the horse's name is, but
Well, so I still like Sam, the neighbor Sam.
which I think he's coming somehow it's going to turn out where he's
Is a
evil.
bad guy. Oh man.
Like when he was trying to give her money, and I was waiting for it to be like, I'm taking over your land and doing him. I don't know. I think he's going to turn out to be bad.
All right. Well, that was our way home segment, and we're looking forward to the season wrapping up in a few weeks.
So how many weeks into, is it 2 weeks or 3 weeks
2
until
weeks.
2 weeks?
There's
Bad
there's
Apple?
2 episodes left.
No, till
And then
no, one
Bad
Bad Apple.
Apple is 2 weeks as well. April 5th is when it is set to air.
Okay.
And then Curious Caterers is also in April, a couple weeks after that.
So, well, this has been fun. Which
Yeah.
I guess we didn't say in the beginning. I'm here in Vegas, looking out my hotel window at the Strip.
Gambling
And,
away.
No, I didn't gamble at all. But I will say, it's kind of gross, but you forget when you come to Vegas, like, once again, total smoking environments, that as I get
Oh.
in, like, my pile of clothes just reeks.
Oh.
Bitch. You forget about it because, like, now back in the way home, you could smoke away in the bars and do everything where you can't do anymore. So you kind of forgot what that environment is like. I was just actually telling my son, who had no comprehension about which you're
I had
old
1
enough.
year.
Well, I was gonna say
1 year, and then they outlawed it. So the 1 year I was 21, there was still smoking, and I hated it because everything, you just
But
reeked of smoke.
you were too young to know about smoking on planes, though, right?
I did
how,
not
like,
fly until I was older, so
okay,
I
so
did
like
not.
row 17 to 25, you could smoke,
Oh,
whereas row 16 and up, you couldn't. So
you still smell it.
well, yeah, I'm sure with the recycled air, of course, you didn't know anything different back then, but
No.
I'm sure that the entire planes just reeked. You just didn't know it. But
Yeah.
well, we digress. It's better talk than the way home. So yeah.
All right. Good chatting with you today, Eric.
Yes, it was. I'm off to go to a amusement convention center thing.
We'll have fun.
Look at play gyms and different things like that. You enjoy your day.
All right.
Talk later.
Bye.
Goodbye.